everybody, it's Joe Parrott, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group. Are you feeling stuck with your Gundog training? Trust me, you're not alone, and that's exactly why you need to be here. Every week, we're bringing you the best tips and hacks to make training your Gundog easy peasy. We'll keep it straightforward, no fuss, just actionable guidance that you can put straight to use. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Found It, Fetched It. This week we are going to be talking all about the mother-pup relationship in Gundogs. Joining me for this week's podcast is LWDG Group Expert Jem Martin. How are you today, Jem?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. How are you?
I am very good, and I'm really interested to have this conversation with you because you have just bred a beautiful pup of your own and have mum and pup at home, and I did the same with Ella, and I thought it'd be really, really cool to talk about the pros and cons of this sort of mother-pup relationship. Now, how old is your pup now, Jem?
She is 9 weeks today.
9 weeks, so she's still a little dirty lamb chop. And what's her name?
She's called Yara.
Yara. So let's have a little conversation around how you feel even about the fact that, like, you've now got mum and daughter.
Well, first off, she's not a dirty lamb chop. She's like some raptor that's rapid and runs around with her mouth open. I think this has probably been the bit that I've been most worried about when I was breeding the litter. It's like, how do I move forward now with actually trying to train a puppy and still have mum and sort of do that transition? So at the moment, she's spending a lot of time separated from the others on her own, which sounds really harsh, but she's fine. She's sleeping, she's chilling. And just learning to be a little bit independent, I suppose, of the pack, because that's probably what I'm most worried about, is that she gets a bit dependent on mum and everyone else.
Because it is that, like, initial bond, isn't it? We're like, obviously, you know, Nuka brought into the world, Nuka's fed and Nuka's looked after her, so she does have a huge bond with Nuka, understandably.
Yeah, so if they are out together, she will trot around after her and just check if the milk bar's still open. It's really not open for business anymore. But I think actually Nuka's probably more intent on her at the moment, because Yara's starting to explore the sort of bigger, wider world. Nuka's a bit more interested in Yara than Yara is in Nuka at this point.
Right now, mum is like trying to protect her, which is her job. But Yara, being 9 weeks old, is like, yeah, whatever, I can do this myself.
Yeah, pretty much. Nuka just wants to give her little bed baths, and Yara wants to run off and go, hi, everyone. Oh, what's this? What's this? So, yeah, it's...
Yeah. Jess and Ella were the same. And, like, it was really interesting because I was really proud that I'd bred Ella. But in the beginning, and probably through my own inexperience, I didn't do what you did. I wasn't that sensible. I didn't make Ella independent of her mum. I almost did the opposite. I basically allowed Ella to follow her mum everywhere she went. And right at the beginning, I thought, oh, this is really, really good, because every time I pipped a whistle, like, Ella would turn because Jess was turning. Or every time I recalled, Jess would come back, Ella would come back. So right at the beginning, I could see sort of positives for it. What I didn't allow for is what would happen if I tried to train Ella away from Jess. So you've already started thinking about that, haven't you?
Yeah, so all the training that she's doing is all out on her own in the garden or in a separate room from the others. She hasn't really done anything with the others other than mooch around and just be around them. That's all I want her to get used to at the moment.
So what challenges are you sort of facing with, like, because all of your dogs live in the same house, what challenges are you facing with separating them out and getting her to be independent of her mum?
So during the day actually is a lot easier than nighttime. So during the day she's got her crate in the kitchen. She goes in there while the others come up here in the office with me, or they're either out with me in the car or whatever. So that's fine. She's really happy to go in there. She settles and has sleeps and then is let out for training and food and wheeze and poos and whatever. Nighttime, when we're all in the living room, is a little bit more difficult, because I'm not only having to manage her, but I'm having to manage her mum's interactions with everyone else regarding her. I'm having to manage her uncle's interactions with her. He's not quite as puppy tolerant as the others. And then having to manage her interactions with my housemate's young Springer, who just wants to knock everyone out with her paws. So yeah, that's more interesting. And at the moment she's got a little pen in the corner, so she's just getting used to sort of settling around everyone else.
Because that is quite difficult in itself, isn't it? Like, you know, for a lot of people, you to just got one dog in the household and that being the pup, getting them to settle is hard. But when you're trying to get a pup to settle and the other dogs, the other dogs might be settled, but they might just get up to walk around or go and get a drink. Everything starts your pup off, doesn't it?
Yeah. So like you say, someone getting up to go for a drink is like, oh my God, someone's moving. Oh, and that will wake her up again and take her another 10 minutes to go, oh, okay, it's boring, and settle down. And yeah, so that is my biggest struggle at the moment. And obviously Nuka being quite protective of her, if anyone goes over to sniff her, Nuka then also has to go over and sniff her and make sure everything's okay. So it's like, everyone just calm down.
But yeah, but that's like understandable. I suppose if you look at human interactions, your mum does check, you know, that you're safe, and Nuka's just doing what Jess did, which was making sure that their baby is fine. What I found with Ella is as she got older, that didn't stop. Jess was still concerned about it, and again, it's probably down to my inexperience. I didn't break them up, so Jess never stopped overly caring about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you think the sort of plus side of the emotional well-being of the dogs, with the fact that, like, Yara hasn't had to go to another home, has she? She's only ever known your home.
Yeah, so I think that side of things has made the transition a lot easier. I think she's probably the first puppy that I've had that on her first night alone didn't cry or didn't squeak, just went to bed and slept all the way through, basically, because that's what she's been doing with her brothers and sisters. All of her brothers and sisters at least had one night where they did a little bit of whinging and crying and stuff, because it is quite a big upheaval, isn't it? They've left their home, they've left their siblings, and it smells different and it feels different, whatever. So yeah, I think that side of things has been really, really beneficial, because she has just gone into her crate and that's been like it has the rest of her life. It's normal, and she's settled really well in that respect.
I think for Ella, she had loads of insecurity and loads of confidence around the house. But again, it was only if Jess was there. Like, looking back now and chatting to you, I think, oh, why didn't I like crate her in another room, or why didn't I do this? But again, it goes back to all the time, we don't know what we don't know. So maybe we don't approach it in the way that we should. For you, like, you've got this sort of separation strategy going on. Are you going to continue that when you train, or are you going to do like a mix of both? So for me, Jess without doubt taught Ella quite a lot, because she naturally followed mum. Mum was responding. Ella sort of learned a lot of the basic commands just from being where her mum was when her mum responded. Are you going to do something similar, or are you going to train her completely on her own?
I think it all depends on how she's getting on. Like you said, I don't want her to become dependent on Nuka to listen to those commands. She needs to listen to them when she's on her own. So I reckon the first couple of months, a lot of it will be on her own, and then interspersing her mum and other dogs, so that she can still listen while there's those other things around. But equally do as they do and follow them around. So yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit suck it and see and play it by ear, really. But yeah, majority of her training will probably be on her own to get those foundations in solid.
I think as well, like something you just touched upon there, is like the interactions. Like, it's very easy when you've got mum and you've got pup and you've got other dogs to say, well, okay, my dog knows pretty much how to behave around this group. But sometimes that doesn't mean they'll know what to do when they meet a stranger, because they were born into that household and those dogs around them have never been strangers, have they?
No, so she's always been able to see them and smell them, even if it hasn't been necessarily right next to her. So they're very familiar to her in that sense.
Yeah, and she's still too young to sort of go out and meet the world. When you go out and meet the world, are you going to have the same plan as you've got for your training, which is like, okay, I'm just going to take her out on her own to meet the world, to build her own independence, her own confidence? Or are you going to have like a mix where you like say, well, I'm going to take her with Nuka as well, so Nuka can support her through this?
Yeah, I think it depends where I'm going. If I'm going somewhere new that I think she might be bothered by, that then possibly I might take another dog so she can sort of follow their lead. But equally, I want her to sort of look to me for that as well. So I don't want her to always have to depend on a dog. I'd rather she go, oh, okay, she says this is all right, so it's probably fine. Because I want to work on our bond as well.
And that's really, really important, because like in some of the previous episodes, we've discussed what you want to do with her, and you want to trial her and want to do things with her. So you really do want her connection to be you and nobody else, don't you?
Yeah, ideally, but she's a cocker, so who knows what will happen.
Yeah, we're talking through this as if we've got it planned out. The reality of it is we haven't allowed for the breed. But yeah, with regards to like health and wellness, like the one thing I did see with Ella was she wasn't so confident when I did take her away, but when they were together, she was incredibly confident. Again, probably looking to mum for some support there, but she was far more advanced from like how she interacted. She almost felt a little bit like she'd grown up way quicker than a pup would have, until you took mum away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think because I've been to visit a couple of the puppies from the litter, I think Yara is a lot more confident because she's still around mum and she's still doing all that stuff. So she charges around the house like a freaking lunatic, going, yeah, this is brilliant. Whereas the puppies that have gone other places and maybe with other dogs and people and whatever, they're just a little bit more, okay, I'm just going to suss this out. I'm not fully got my feet under the table yet, but yeah, so in that respect, she is a bit more bold. But I did take her for a first carry down the road this morning, so that sort of put her back in a box a little bit. She wasn't quite so brave then. So we'll keep doing those little bits of that, I think, over the next couple of weeks.
Because we know people within the membership who've got like grandmothers, daughters, mothers, you know, great grandmothers, like they've got the entire line over generations. So those dogs really do stay surrounded by their own, don't they?
Yeah, and I'm still a little bit bewildered on how I move forward, but I'm sure we'll get there.
I think though, like a lot of it, and we say this in the group all the time, is to train the dog in front of you. And I think we can learn a lot from what the dog's telling us. So you're going to just see what she gives you feedback wise.
Definitely. And I think if she does need her confidence boosting and stuff, then maybe that will be the time to bring out mum and show her that stuff's all right. But yeah, at the moment she's doing all right, and I think it's just sort of a learning process for all of us, really, because I've never had mum and daughter. So like I said, it's going to be a suck it and see what happens.
I think as well, though, like what you just said there is absolutely right, because even if they're not mum and daughter, we tend to use an older dog to sometimes show a younger dog what the game's really about. And I also think having an older dog around a younger dog steadies them without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I think Red being around my housemate's dog when he was a puppy, he learned loads and loads and loads. He was doing stop whistle sort of probably at 11 weeks maybe, just because he was watching what the others were doing and getting his bum down. So yeah, they do have their benefits.
So Jem, like what you just said there though, like Red and Beanie weren't related, but there was that sort of like younger dog, older dog relationship there, wasn't there?
Yeah, we used to joke and say that Red looked at Beanie and was like, oh, you're my hero. He used to watch him sort of bounding through the fields and sort of follow him everywhere. So yeah, he did learn some really good stuff off Beanie, but then equally you've got to be careful that they're not picking up those slightly naughty habits. And I suppose Beanie's wasn't a naughty habit because that's what Liz allowed him to do. He was allowed to range a bit further. But I didn't want that from my cocker. So he did learn to range quite far as a puppy. So it took a bit of reining in after that.
And that could be like any sort of dog with another dog relationship, in the fact that like even if you go for a walk with friends, if they allow their dogs to do stuff and then your dog picks up on that, it can very quickly decide, oh, this is the way I want to do this from now on.
Yeah, it can be carnage, and that's why a lot of the time when my friends say, do you want to go for a walk with the dogs, I'm like, no, can I come on my own? Because I don't want to tell you that I don't want to walk with your dogs.
Anyone listening to this now is like, oh my god, Gemma never brings her dog online. But like this like sort of like the like dog learning dynamics, like there's so many advantages of it, but like we've just discussed, there's so many disadvantages of it. But like they can teach some stuff that maybe we haven't thought about talking. So, for example, if there's like sheep, Jess never chased sheep. None of my dad's packs, for want of a better word, did, the whole lot of them. So for Ella, when she was walking with them all and they were sheep, she almost looked to them, looked to the sheep. I would say to her, sheep, which meant leave the sheep alone. And then she would like literally go, okay, that's not there. I don't think, and I don't know because I've never had to individually teach one dog at any one time, if it's harder if the dog's got no other dog to to model their behavior.
Yeah, so I think things like that, they do sort of take the lead from what the pack are doing, don't they? So they sort of look around and go, well, no one else is chasing the sheep. Maybe we shouldn't go and chase the sheep. Maybe we just walk past. So I think, yeah, they can be really helpful with adding that sort of self-learned self-control, I suppose. I mean, I call Red the fun police because if anyone starts playing in the house, he will correct them and go, I don't want that in the house. So as a result, I don't really have to do anything with the dogs in the house if they start going mental, because I know he steps up and goes grrr, and they all go, okay, sorry, Red, sorry, put their paws up and stop. So I think the other dogs can be really helpful, and especially in that respect. So teaching the younger dogs to be sort of respectful around older dogs and not bounce on people's heads and doing all that. Red's been amazing for that, because Liz's Springer is an absolute nut job, and he's been really, really patient and taught her, you know, respectful boundaries. He will be really he's actually a lot more patient with her than I thought he would be, which has been a real surprise. So he gives her a sort of grr, grr, and then if she pushes it anymore, he gets bah, 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 bah. And that's the end of it. And she is learning. She will now approach him and go, are you in a good mood? No, we're not in a good mood today. I'll go and lie down.
It can work the other way though, kind of, because we're talking like about how the younger dog's behavior is influenced by the older dog. But I've seen it without doubt that when you've got pups around, older dogs, like they almost become more playful. They you'll see them like where they maybe don't normally play bow and stuff with their peer group. They'll start doing it around the pack. They'll start acting more, acting younger in their behavior towards the little dog.
Yeah, there has been more playing since since both the pups have come into the house. Red and Nuka will now play a lot more than they used to, and I think that's because they sort of take the lead from the younger one in that respect.
So at the moment, you've got 2 older dogs, 2 younger dogs. So that's quite an equal situation now, isn't it?
And an ancient dog.
It's like the wisdom tree, the ancient dog, isn't it? I love it. Like older dogs sort of just like sit there, and I don't even think they need to growl. They just have something about them that says, leave me alone.
Yeah, she just emits an aura sitting on the sofa going, just don't come near me. We're cool, just stay away.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's not that different to humans. Like I bless my mum, I love her to death, but I take the mick out of her sometimes, like teasing her. But I would never do that to my gran. Like my gran's 90, I would never do it to her. But my mum, I can still sort of get away with it, and she'll like give me a bit of banter back. So I think like we all work out what is appropriate in the structure. Like for example, my gran, you cannot swear in front of at all. Not that I'm a giant swearer, but I do swear. I'm not going to pretend I don't. And you cannot. And once I said the naughty word for poop, she smacked me across the face. She said, she literally smacked, and she's the most placid, calmest person in the world. She shocked the life out of me, and she said to me, young ladies do not use words like that. And I was like, and from that day, I have not sworn around her. And I can't, and like literally, I think, how is it in my like brain? Like my brain just knows, do not swear around grandma, because you can get a whack across the face. I don't think she'd do that now. She's not bad enough. But you know. But then I would swear on my mum, and my mum says to me, right, enough of the swearing. But like it's just a different type of levels of behavior you can get away with different people or different other dogs, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it is quite similar, especially with Jelly, who, like I say, just lies on the sofa grumbling at a distance. Nobody goes near her, and I think they all know that, you know, you don't mess with her. She's old.
My poor grandma now, she's never going to listen to the podcast. The other thing she wants to give me a big massive row for was because I had a pint glass with Coke in it, and she said,
Ladies don't drink pints,
a
Joe.
glass. Yeah, she was absolutely appalled. I was like, Grandma, it's like I think it was Diet Coke because we didn't even have Coke Zero then, or Diet Pepsi or something. But yeah, she was saying. So we've talked about like the challenges. We've talked about like management of it. We've talked, I think, really well about the like integration strategies, how we can get dogs to get on. Do you think that, like, regardless of whether they are family or not family, it's always worth having this sort of like, I need my pup to be independent attitude?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said before, I think you want your dog to bond with you and not the other dogs. And sometimes I think it can be easier to just let them toddle around after the other dogs, but you do lose a little bit of that connection with you then. So if the other dog runs off, I think you probably find it harder to then recall the pup away from the other dog and things like that. So I think build the bond with you first, or this is my hoping anyway, build the bond with you first and then start to integrate them into the pack so that they're doing stuff with the others. But until they can be your bestie, they can't be besties with anyone else. Sounds harsh, doesn't it?
I don't think it's harsh. I think it's what you need, because the reality of being, if you're out in the field, you cannot have like the simplest of things. So for example, Ella and Rex, will use them. They in my good books at the moment. They're both being perfect. Rex is always on my good books. Ella is in my good books, apart from the fact Gemma will laugh. She ate one of my favourite bags of baby boots last night. So now she's in my bad books for that bit. But anyway, out, if they were like the besties, if Rex ran in, she would run in, because that's sort of the behaviour I saw with her mum. Now she's not with her mum, she tends to think a little bit more for herself. So Rex can run in to get a dummy. Rather than run in, I've sent him in to get a dummy. She will sit and wait with me. Like, I can sort of tell in her behaviour if she's starting to get to the point where like, you need to lay a lead on now because you are starting to get really excited by what he's doing. But yeah, I think when she was with her mum, you didn't even have time to think, does she need a lead? She was a goner. Everywhere mum went, she went. So it gave me problems around the basic things that you would try to do, Gundog training.
Yeah. So I think getting that in early so that they know that they can do all those things alone, and look to you for that guidance is beneficial, because otherwise, like you say, you've then got that battle of going, no, don't follow the dog, look at me.
I spent many hours stop following you, mother. But thank you again for a fabulous podcast. As always, I hope everybody listening has enjoyed. Please make sure to subscribe, and if you're on a podcast platform, please could you leave us a review? That would be absolutely fabulous. We really do appreciate it. And we shall speak to you all next week. That's it for today's episode. A massive thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to head over to the LWDG and sign up for our membership. Get access to expert-led training, a wonderfully supportive community, and the resources you need to become a confident and skilled gun dog trainer. Let's take this journey together, because no woman should have to train her gun dog alone. We'll see you all next week.